Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to this Knime webinar. I'm Paolo Tamagnini from the Knime team, and today I would like to introduce you to this webinar by Christian Rastasano and also part of our partner MIRR. This webinar will be around the field of financial investments, where financial analysts need to compare projects to decide which ones they want to pursue. We're going to see some financial metrics which are really popular in this domain, especially usually on Excel and in spreadsheets in general. In fact, Christian implemented 5 components that make possible to compute these finance metrics in Knime on an unlimited number of projects and also in a reusable way. And yes, so these components were built by Christian, data analyst at MIRR, and published on the Knime verified component page last December. And MIRR, for which Christian works, is not just any partner of Knime, was also nominated Partner of the Year in 2022. For the contribution that Christian gave us to the Knime community last December, it was nominated Contributor of the Month 2023 of March 2023. You can find more details even today on the Knime homepage if you scroll down at the bottom. And I think this gave up enough titles to you, Christian. I think it's time for you now to start and show basically your work on around financial calculations with Knime, right, Christian?
Yeah, gladly. Thank you, Paolo.
All right.
Okay, so
the floor is
begin.
yours.
Thanks. So let's begin the webinar. Hello, everyone. Just start quickly with the agenda before presenting myself. So the agenda is, I will tell you about where I'm working, what I'm doing, and the MIRR and Knime, so that you understand what I'm coming from. And we'll get into the calculation of financial indicators. First of all, I will give you some context about what we're gonna discuss and the business case so that we can understand better what is it about and how we can put everything in practice. Then we'll put it in practice actually, and we'll do a demo. So I will show you, I will open Knime and I will show you step by step how to implement the components and to get some insights. So in the end, we want to get insights. That's the main deal, the main goal. So we'll get to getting insights and we'll have a quick Q&A to answer any of your questions that you might have. So first, MIRR and Knime. What is MIRR? Why is it relevant? MIRR, it's a data consultancy company. It's a small data consultancy company. Here is the picture with everyone. Most of us are here, so we're relatively small, but we are some pioneers in analytics, data prep, and AI for the past 10 years in France. We have the largest team of Knime consultants in France, also made up of data enthusiasts, myself included. We have over 80 certified Knime consultants, and this number is growing day by day. It's already more, and every month we have new ones. So everyone in the company, we are around 100, so most of us know Knime. And we do thousands of analytical projects implemented in over 500 organizations and companies. So we pretty much like data, and the Knime is something that enables us to make data accessible to companies. And yeah, as Paul mentioned, we were partners of the year of 2022. Hope to keep that going also in the future. And a little bit more about myself. So I'm Chris Rastasano, Chris. I'm a data analyst. You can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, whatever social media. And to break a bit the ice, and also for me to feel a bit calmer, to be able to make the presentation a better manner. Also because I'm relatively new to these webinars. I will have a bit of questions, exchange of questions. Basically, I will ask you something. I will basically show you an image, and you should guess what this image means about me. It's pretty simple. You will understand as we go. So please feel to write in the chat what the answers. Feel free to contribute. So it will also make it easier later for the Q&A. And well, let's begin. So first of all, first image is 5. What do you think 5 means when it comes to me? What can it be? And you can write it in the chat. I think you can write. I can see if I'm not mistaken. I will wait a little bit. Oh, maybe the first one is a bit tough, but to just get going, 5, I will just answer this one. 5 is the languages spoken. So I speak 5 languages. I've been living also in different countries, that's why. So I speak Romanian, Russian, Italian, French, and English. So if anyone would like to ask some questions in these languages, I can also reply in those languages. Cool. Let's go to the next one, 23. Now that you got the good idea of what it is, what does 23 means? Also about me. If someone raised their hand, you can just write it in the chat.
I think the chat
disabled.
is disabled, and you need to
Okay.
use, like Abud just did right now, you need to use the Q&A tool, right? It's right next to the chat. It should become trivial. So you can simply make a question to answer Christian questions.
Yes, make a question. Cool. Perfect.
23 programming languages.
Cool. Thank you, Paolo and Shantanu. 23 programming languages, that's ambitious. I would really like to know that many. Well, no, it's the country I visited. A good try though. Also, I would like to be that young again. Okay, but yeah, I visited 23 countries. This is somehow close, 26. So anyone knows what 26 means?
Your age?
Yeah, this one is correct. So yeah, I'm 26 years old. I thought it would be useful to know more or less to contextualize myself in the age groups. Okay, let's give it some images, pictures. Anyone knows what is this? It's a country, but anyone knows which one and why is there? Romania. It's really close. Yeah, Moldova. Yeah, that's cool. Someone knows about it because many people don't. But yeah, that's the country of origin. I was born in Moldova, a really small country between Ukraine and Romania, so right at the border of Europe, European Union. Yeah. Good. Next, it's a bit harder to understand because it's not a picture, it's not a photo. Maybe with a small Greek flag, you will understand. What do you think it is? It's a bit tough. It is Greece, but something that is in Greek. Yeah, well, it has Greek cheese. Yes, it's called tiropita. It's a Greek cheese pie that has feta inside, and it's one of my favorite plates, foods in general. I really like it. And one of the last pictures.
Japan.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I was not, yeah, that's very precise. Osaka is around there. Yeah, Nippon, Japan. Japan, it's because it's my favorite country. So my dream is to go there one day. So that's something really light about me. So let's move on. As you can see, I'm pretty international. I've been traveling a lot, and I wish to travel more. I speak some languages. I like to eat, and Japan, not because of anime, by the way. Cool. Cool. Indonesia, very nice. My brother was there actually, not long ago. Okay, so let's go more professional things. As you already know, I'm a data analyst at MIRR. About Knime, I developed some verified components that I will explain later. I'm also certified in Knime, and I'm using Knime every day, basically. Most of the days, I'm using Knime for something, either a client, either an internal project, even in my personal life, and in my personal projects at school. I use Knime because it's really cool. So I'm really at ease with it. And about my studies, I have some background in finance and economics, also in computer science. But you know, I know more or less what we're going to talk about, and I have a diploma to prove it. So let's move on to the topic of today. So the calculation of financial indicators. We'll go to a context, and the context is really simply put. In the world of finance, one often has to calculate financial measures to make decisions, right? And the problem is that these calculations have to be done regularly and they take a lot of time. And as a result, most of the time, let's say 80%, I know sometimes this is the case, sometimes less, sometimes more, but a lot of big part of the day we dedicated to prepare the data and calculating the metrics and arranging our files, you know, putting the Excel in order, finding stuff, and to calculate what we need, and then only a part of it, a small part of it, to the actual job and making a decision and analyzing what it did. So that's really not that productive. And what we were trying to do also with Knime and with these calculations is to reduce the time that we spend on preparing the data and preparing these calculations and having everything more automatized, so that we can dedicate most of our time to the actual job and to getting insights and making decisions and having a more valuable output of our time, let's say. That's what we will try to do today. Because the ability to automatize this calculation and get the results when it's needed, so whenever it's needed, not a few days later because we need to prepare some data, actually this gives companies a strategic and competitive advantage. And our objective, though, then it's simple. So it's getting from this mass, or we can call it even a mess of data files, Excel, databases, whatever. Okay, databases is simpler, but a lot of Excel, in this case, files that are not necessarily arranged in a very good way. Maybe it's messy. When you have a lot of projects also, it becomes really hard to handle or to modify if you want to add something, to change something. Or even when you change your job and then the new person has to come and find a pile of Excel files and try to make sense out of it, to have something that's simple, that you can change really easily, that you can explain to your clients, to your boss, and that's really easy to automatize. That's our objective right now, and also putting it in the context of finance. So the case study of today, it's really simple. It's basically gaining financial freedom. So let's say that I'm a person that wants to have financial freedom. I want to break out of the job routine, and I want to have money coming to me, easily. And it might be a bit sensitive right now with all the banks crashing and the markets, but yeah, well, I still want financial freedom. I can have this by 3 different methods, for example. So I can have a personal project. So I have some land, I want to start a garden. Well, what kind of things I can plant so I can have some good revenues out of it? So, for example, we can have three projects to choose from. We can have a walnut plantation, we can plant strawberries, and we can plant apples or apple trees. So that's a personal project. We know the cost, the cash flows, so what we might gain out of it, what we have to put into it. Then another project can be some regular financial investments. Regular financial investments means that some investments that you will have every month, and that you know that will happen because it's something that you're investing in something very sure, very that has a really low risk, let's say. And you might invest in gold, in S&P 500, or in treasury bonds, depending on your risk tolerance. And a third way of gaining financial freedom is having some random financial investments. Random means maybe the market is in a very good place, like it crashed a lot and you really are a good place to invest, or maybe you have some new liquidity out of your birthday or something, and you want to invest that in something riskier. And there you can have some projects like investing in Bitcoin, in Dow Jones, or in Tesla. But that's just some examples. We will call them just project A, B, C, D, F, and so on. The thing is, you might have a list of a lot of projects, but you cannot invest in all of them, even though diversification is good, but up to a certain point. So you need to choose also which are the projects that are best suited for you. So which one to choose? That's the question. And the better question may be how to choose them, because we might have the answer. So how to choose them? It's really simple. There are two things to consider. One thing is choosing the project that has the higher value, that will give you a higher value if you invest into it. And we can calculate the value of a project, so the net present value, through two different measures, net present value and XNPV, NPV and XNPV. XNPV is just extended NPV, so it's just NPV with the dates, and we'll see later how we can calculate each of them and which kind of data we need for each of them. And then we need to see which project has a higher rate of return, internal rate of return. And for this, we have three different measures. We have IRR, and we have XIRR, and we have MIRR. IRR is internal rate of return. XIRR is extended internal rate of return, and MIRR is modified internal rate of return. So the three of them all calculate the internal rate of return, but a bit differently from each other. And some would argue that some calculations, some measurements are better than the others. And we will see later. And we'll go more into detail in each of them and what do they mean and how can we use them. And let's begin with an example first, before getting into financial stuff. I just wanted to show how easy it is with Knime to work with many projects at once. So let's say you have a list of different projects. How can you just put them all together and group them and work with them? Because with Knime, it's really easy to do that. So getting a lot of Excel files, and then on the right you can see it's in French, but to read the files and then to group them. So we have a very simple and fast example. So first of all, let's take the garden example, because I think it's simpler. So we have let's say we use Excel, no? So in Excel, we can have an apples tab with the dates of the cash flows. So the cash flows are, okay, I'm investing this and this, like this amount, and I'm expecting to have this return in this time. So we have apples, we have nuts, so walnuts, and we have strawberries. So in an Excel file, you have these three tabs with the date and the amount of the cash flow. And if we want to do the sum in Excel, we need to do a formula for each tab. As you can see in the column D, sum, and you do the formula and you have the sum for each of them. And these are just 3 tabs, but let's say you have 100 tabs, then what do? You have to do manually for each of them, or I don't know, a pivot table or something. I don't know, but you know, it can become very tedious after a while. So we can automate it and make it more efficient. So let's calculate total by project. In Knime, we just need 2 things. So the first step is to read the sheets, and we can have a meta node to read the sheets, and we can read all the sheets together. So I will show you later how to do it. It's really simple. In the live demo, we'll do it together. It's really fast and simple, but basically you can read all the sheets together. You can see you have a column that defines where the data is coming from, so by nuts or strawberries or apples. And then one simple node that groups the projects and calculates the sum. So it's really fast and easy. And you can see that now if we have 3, okay, it's really small, but you can have 100 projects. It will be as easy as for 3, and it's really fast. So that's just to understand the concept, because we will use it later in our example. So how do we automate the measurement of the feasibility of investment project using Knime? First of all, we will have an input. So we'll have the Excel files with all the tabs, with all the projects. We'll read them. We will apply the components of our measurements, so all the 5 components. And we'll have an output that we can actually read and compare the projects so that we can take a decision. Okay, so let's put this in practice. And first of all, another concept for you to understand, it's what is a component. Maybe there are some people here that don't know what a component is in a Knime. So really easy. This is some nodes that you can implement to read the Excel sheets. So we have here a loop, and the loop goes over each Excel sheet, gives the name adds a column with the name of the tab, the Excel tab, and goes over and over. So it reads every tab and puts it in a table. And to make it easy and to just kind of put everything together, we can assemble them in a component, call them read Excel sheets, and we can use this component everywhere in all the different cases that we need to read the Excel sheets, and we can share it, and it's easy, and we don't have to go in and modify stuff. So that's what a component is. It's just a group of nodes that are doing a specific task, and then we can use it in different cases. But then what is the Knime verified component? Well, it's basically the same thing. It's sometimes it's more complex than just reading the Excel sheets. And it's also verified by Knime experts so that we are sure that the components is working in different cases and for everyone. And it's also, you can find it easily in the Knime hub. So already in the Knime application, in the Knime analytic platforms, you just search for it inside the application and you find the node and you just apply it, the component, and just apply it as a node. And you don't have to care what is inside, you just execute it and configure it, and you are sure that it's going to work because it's verified by Knime experts. That's what a Knime verified component is. That's the difference. And we have here, as an example, the one that I developed, which is the XIRR, as an example. And this is a Knime verified component. You can find it in the Knime hub, and you can even open it to see what's inside. So that's what is inside. It's a group, it's a lot of nodes inside and a lot of other components that are trying to calculate XIRR. The good thing about this is that you don't really have to care what is inside that much as long as this works. So this works. So you don't really have to understand what is behind, as long as you understand what XIRR is about and how to use it. And then you just end up using just this component and applying it everywhere as just drag and drop. So that's how simple it is. Okay, so let's see all the financial category analysis categories, so all the 5 components that I developed. It's really simple and intuitive to use, as I already showed you, and performs a set of tasks starting from 1 or more inputs even. And you can just drag it and drop. So you drag it from the hub, you drop it on the workflow, and you work with it. Cool. So let's get more into what is the financial components that I developed. So you can find them in the website, on the Knime hub website. You can find more detailed information about them or about each of them, and you can also find it in the hub. So in the Knime application, if you just write XIRR, you find it, and there's a description about all the columns, so how to use them, what kind of data you need, and what it does. So it's easy to implement like that. And let's go one by one to see what it means. So let's begin with IRR, so internal rate of return. When you drag and drop an internal rate of return and you double click the component, you can you have the configuration window that is opening, and you can select the different columns that you need, as in any kind of node or any other component. So IRR needs the portfolio ID. So as you saw before, portfolio means the project, basically. So the nuts is a project, strawberries is the project, apples is the project, and it needs that there is a column defining from which project the data is, so that it can group them. So as we saw before, that we grouped together the 3 projects into the sum of the cash flows. Well, this is the same. It will group together and it will compute the IRR. So that's why we need the column of the project. Then the value of transaction is just the other column. So the column, the amount, the cash flow that we also saw that. So we just need the 2 columns. And the third, it's not that important, but it's just a guess value. By default, also in Excel, by default is 0.1. It should work for most cases 0.1, and you can choose to change it. That's basically the value that we start guessing the result from. And we start from 0.1 to iterate. And you can also change it if you know that most of your values are really extreme and they are starting from 0.7, 0.9, I don't know. You can specify it and make it easier for the algorithm to converge. But usually 0.1, if you leave it, it's fine. And you just configure like this. You just need these columns and you're good. Well, that's the classical IRR formula, the IRR component. Then there is XIRR. So what is different is the date. And we need a column for the date that's in date format. And we select it as the third option here. And it's really important. And the difference between IR and XIRR, IRR and XIRR, it's the fact that XIRR is usually known to be more precise than IRR. So of course, if you give the specific date, it can calculate better the internal rate of return. And usually if you have the date, it's very good to use XIRR. I mean, you only have to gain by using XIRR. If not, you can also use IR and it's fine. And sometimes it doesn't converge. We are using a Java snippet to Java code to compute it. And sometimes it doesn't converge for extreme values. And if you see that you have some missing values, you just tick this thing and you most likely will arrive to compute it. So that's the thing. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Then we have MIRR, and in MIRR we have the additional column. So we don't have the date, but we have the finance rate and the reinvestment rate. The reinvestment rate is the firm's cost of capital, so the cost of capital of this investment, and the finance rate is the financial cost. So that's the only thing, because the cash flows are often reinvested at the cost of capital, not at the same rate at which they were generated in the first place. So while IRR assumes that the growth rate remains constant from the project to project, here we can actually, if we know the rate, we can actually put it. And for that, we need a column with the rate. Cool. So that's the internal rate of returns. We can move on to the net present values. So for net present values, we have NPV. And in NPV, as in Excel, we need the 3 columns. So we need the project as before, the amount as before too. And here we also need the discount rate. So of course, to know the net present value, we need a discount rate, and it's a column dedicated to that. And also, as in Excel, we can choose if the current period transaction is in input or it's not. And the XNPV, it's the same, but with the date. So it's again the same discussion. XNPV should be better to use if we can. What kind of data we have? So we have the data about the non-regular investment, the monthly investments data, and the monthly investment data with the rates. So that's the non-regular investments, the regular investment, and the random investments, financial, that we discussed in the business case. So just to be more clear, we have this data. I didn't include all of them, but just to understand, we have here the nuts, strawberries, and apples with the discount rates, the amount of the cash flow, and the date. Here we have the monthly regular investments, so we don't have the date because they happen regularly. But we have the amount, and we have the project, and we have the discount rate. And here we have the more random ones, and we have also the amount, the finance rate, the investment rate, the project, and the discount rate. Cool. So now that we have all the data, we can pass on to have a live demo. So as I mentioned before, we'll load and read the data. We'll apply the verified components and we will extract and visualize the insight. So we'll do that only with one because making all the 5 of them, I will just show you at the end how it is, but it's the same principle. So we'll do it only for one component so that you understand the idea. So here we have the Knime analytics platform, as you know it. And I just added here read Excel sheet names node, just to read the names of the Excel sheets. I will just take the non-regular investment file. And this file has the 3 tabs that we know with the nuts, apples, and strawberries. So here is just reading the names. If we run it, we can see that we have here the path, so the file.
We can still see the PowerPoint window. We
do
not see Knime. Maybe you can share the entire screen or the right screen. I don't know if you have more. Okay, now we can see it. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Paolo. Okay. So again, here you have the read Excel sheet names, the node. And if we open it, we are selecting only the file of non-regular investments. And in this non-regular investments, if we are running it and opening the output, you can see that it reads. So it gives the name of the file, the path, and the name of the sheet. So nuts, strawberries, and apples. And this again, this can be a very, very big list of projects. So it's really cool. What we need to do now is to read every sheet and put it in a single table. How to read it is just, we are making a simple loop. So we add a loop start. Here, table row, yes. So we'll add the table row to variable loop start. Why? It's because we need to go row by row, so sheet by sheet here. And we are adding an actual Excel reader to read every sheet. So we are connecting it to the loop. And here we will input the configuration of our sheets. Okay. Okay. So here in the path, we need the same file. So we'll put the file that we selected. So the path, as you remember, the path is the name of the Excel file. And we'll select the sheet with the name so we can see here the sheets. And we need this to change at every iteration of the loop. This is why we will put here a variable. And we do that, we go in flow variables. And here in the sheet name, we put sheet. And this should change at every iteration. And now we just run it to see if it runs. Here we have the first tab with the nuts, I think. So exactly, we don't know part of which project it is, so we need to add the column of the project. Do that, we just add another column expression node. And this allows us to add the name of the sheet. And this is really easy. We give it the name as a name project or portfolio. And as a single value, we put the sheet. We see this will populate the column with nuts. And if we run it and open it, we can see that we have the date, the amount, and the project nuts. And every time it should change. Now, we need to close the loop. So we add a loop end. And if we run it, we have the iteration, so we don't need the iteration column. If we run it, we can see that we have all the 3 tabs here, and we have nuts, strawberries, and apples. And that is cool. We have our flow to read the Excel sheets. And the good thing is that now in the Excel sheet that we have, we can add more projects, and we don't need to modify at all the workflow, because it will read all the sheet that we are inputting. So if we want to plant other things like pairs, we just add a pair tab and it will read it, and we don't need to modify anything. So that's the cool thing about it. So now that we have the cash flow and the date and the project, we can actually go on and calculate the XIRR. Why the XIRR? Is because we want to calculate, first of all, the internal rate of return. And since we have the date, we can do it better by implementing XIRR. Of course, we can do it with year as well, but since we have the date, better to use XIRR. How we can find it? You go here in the Knime hub on the right, you click, and if you search for XIRR, you find it here. If you click on it, you can find all the details about this component and all the options and how to have the columns and everything. Well, you can just drag and drop it down. It will download it and it will put it here, and now you can use it. So it's perfect. We connect it to our input data. We double click to configure it, and we, in the portfolio ID, to group by we put project, value of transaction we put amount, the date of the transactions we put date. Let's perform an extra search, why not? And the get value, we leave it like this. And now if we run it, just to run, you just click F7 and it runs as a shortcut. And we can see here that we have for each project, the XIRR, very good. And if you have 3, okay, it's easy to see that strawberries, it's better, has a better return, way better return. But what if you have many, and to visualize it better, you can just add a bar chart here. You can visualize, oh wait, have to configure it, categories, you put the sum of XIRR, and you can visualize it really easily, and you can see that apples and nuts are relatively low in return rate, and strawberries pretty high. So it's more visual way to visualize it, and it's really easy to choose like this. And even, let's say you have 20, then it really pops out and it really can help you to decide. So this is how easy it is. Now, if you just want to create this a component or a meta node, read Excel sheet, and you have it like this, and you have a very really short workflow that you can automatize, and you can use it in your case, in your use case. Okay, so this is the live demo how to do it for one, and let's say that you want to put it for more, and we'll see how it can work in a more developed project. And we will pass to getting insights. So back to our use case, our business case, we have our non-regular, let's import our data here. So we have the non-regular investment that we just did before. We add also the monthly investment data here, and the monthly investment data with rates. So with the investment rate and finance rate. We do a bit of data cleaning, so basically reading the sheets. And we have 3 tables, 1, 2, 3, with all the 3 categories. I mean, the 3 Excel files. now we just implement the components. So we put XIRR as an XNPV for the first one because it has the date, so we can use XIRR and an XNPV. Then we use IRR and NPV for the second table, so for the monthly, because there's no data, and we don't have the investment rates. I mean the reinvestment rate and finance rate, we don't have it, so we can just use NPV and IRR. And for the last one that we have the rates, we can use MIRR and again NPV. So that's why here we concatenate both of them, just not have the same all the time. I mean, two of them. And we have these tables. So with the measurements. So for apple, nuts, and strawberries, we have the XIRR for us IRR. For the investment from A to E, that are the monthly investments, we have the IRR. And for the random investment, we have the MIRR. And then we have the net present value, so XNPV for apple, nuts, strawberries, and for the rest of all the rest of the financial investments, we have the NPV. Okay, now we can put them together. So we just join it and rename so that we have a table with the return rate and NPV and the projects. So here we will have all the projects, all of them, and we'll have the return rate and the NPV. This is XNPV and NPV together, and return rate is all the IRR, XIRR, and MIRR. Then we will visualize it with two bar charts, one for the value and one for the return rate. And we can easily see here that from all the projects, there are some that pop out to be very good, like strawberries for the return rate, and project E that is very negative, that we shouldn't choose for the net present value, or project E or project G. So this is how easy it is. Now that we have this workflow, we can keep adding projects. We can keep modifying it. It's easy to explain to your boss or to the clients, and it's easy now. Now you can just use this, and you don't have to touch any Excel sheets later. So it's really efficient. It's really good. And back to our case. Well, what should we choose in terms of the garden? We can plant strawberries. For the return rate and the value, it's you can see the nuts and the strawberries here. So I guess strawberries is the choice if we have to choose one. For the regular financial investments where we don't have the date, here we can choose A. For the return rate, we can choose A, that is positive, or D, that's also positive. And for the value, we can choose A, that's the biggest one, but also the others are fine. And for random financial investments, we can choose for the return rate. We can choose basically all of them. They are pretty good, but G is the best. And G and I also. And for the value, J we shouldn't choose, G we shouldn't choose, and H or E. So if we have to choose one, we choose I here, and A and strawberries. So we have our portfolio basically. We have the way to get financial freedom. So this is it with all the demo and the business case. And now we have some time to hear some questions from you. I saw already a question there in the Q&A section. So you can feel free to just add more questions, and I will try to do my best to answer them. The first question that I see here.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for this presentation. Let me read the question so we make it a bit more interactive here.
Thank you.
Cool. So the first question by Abud PDMAT is so discounted payback period. It says that he knows already about IRR and NPV, but he has found that discounted PBB to be more common in practice, and at least for certain types of investment. And he's mentioning that CFOs like to know something not just about IRR, but also about this other PBB. Do you know anything about this other metric, or maybe it's something that you can reach out later to Abud to discuss? It sounds a bit of an extra topic here.
Yeah. It does sound interesting. I didn't hear about that because I'm not working now with the financial institutions that much. But yeah, I don't know if we have something in Knime that calculates it. Actually, we can check, but if not, we can develop another component, I think, Paolo.
Yeah.
So next project.
So basically, what we use to create those components, I mean, I verified with some other Knimers help, and Christian created using these Java libraries that are open source. So, and using the Java snippet node, Christian was able to put that expertise in a component, but you don't need to know any of that. You just drag and drop the component and use the settings. They work on their own. If those Java libraries also have this other one, PPB, maybe we can implement it too. It's really good if you are a Knime user that want to use more metrics, you can reach out on the Knime forum and request for these additional metrics, and we can do our best to find them.
Yeah, and I can add that also these components that we developed, it comes also from the practice, because we had some clients that really needed them to have implemented. So I kind of did some work in the background on that. So if we see that there is also need for that, it would be very nice to develop, to have something.
Nice. Yeah, of course. If you, it's also nice when it happens that it's not just someone like Christian that decides to dedicate his time for the open source community, but there is also some bigger project there of some institution that requires that functionality in Knime, and also it is then happy to share it with the entire community, like it happened in this case. So I have a question. While more people come out with their own question, I have a question. So how long did it take you to create those components? Like from the first time we started to was it like, you were also working on your other projects at MIRR, I guess, right?
Yeah. But it really depended on the component. In total, a few weeks, I think, but some components were really easy to do in just a few days. But some others, like where we implemented Java, and we had to find libraries, and also on the open source, the Apache ones, for example.
But once we knew which library we wanted, to add that tiny bit of Java in that Java snippet was also easy, right? It took not too much time, right? It was more about the decision, right? Like just imagine to make the same functionality using pure code, that would have, taken some time, I guess.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know if you ever implemented a new community extension of Knime that takes quite some time.
Yes, exactly.
But we also had to test those components, right? Like it's not just that we did it and we just released it like that. We tested them, right?
Yeah, that's what makes verified truly verified.
I think we were comparing what Excel and Google Sheet give and compared that Knime through those new components within a certain epsilon, like with some tolerance, they give exactly the same value.
Yes, just basically to make it easy for the user to be able to switch and to have the same results. So, okay, it can be more efficient and you can automatize everything in Knime, but if the results then are different, that's
not good, right? So we had to make sure that they were actually giving the same result that you would end up manually inserting those functions in Excel, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We have another question from Abu Quidima. Great workflow presentation. Thank you. Seems helpful in a situation where the investment requests are coming from multiple sources. Have you considered done so already in the past, modeling the cash flows within Knime? In the example shown, the cash flows are done in Excel. I presume one can also, within Knime, pull the cost of strawberries and the potential revenues, then model the cash flow using these NPV and IRR returns.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, totally. Actually, that's how we did it in for a client. Exactly this, because I used to work for. I mean, with MIRR, we had the client that was SMP. That's a big, big assurance company here in France. And they used to have a lot of portfolios to analyze and everything. So we're pulling data from databases, merging everything, having the cost, having the portfolios, putting everything together, and then having like a huge table with all the returns and so on and grouped. And we had to have the XIRR, and we have to have also the sum of the cash flows and so on. But yeah, we kind of had a really huge workflow. It took me a month just because they are doing it in AlterX, so we did the migration to Knime, because Knime open source, really good. And we didn't find to have the XIRR implemented in Knime already, so we had to do it again. We had to develop it. That's how it started, the verify component project. But it was a big workflow, and you can actually do a lot of things before and calculate everything in Knime. And there are a lot of tools to do that. Actually, it's pretty complete from this point of view. So yeah, I found that we had only to re-engineer the XIRR. Otherwise, everything was already there.
I totally agree that it really depends on what works for you, right? Like if you have the data in Excel, those cash flows, right? Then sure, Knime can help you importing them from Excel, like Christian was showing you. But hey, you could have those cash flows in really different data formats, and Knime, of course, can import those too, or directly create the cash flows based on some heuristics directly using a Knime workflow. Right. I guess it really depends on where this information is stored or how it is created.
Yeah, exactly. You can even generate fake data, as we did just to test some components. You can also generate your own cash flows if you want to test some stuff or a distribution or something,
Right. Also, I guess to have a big portfolios, we have to create some artificial data in our case. Okay, so I think we reached exactly 6. Unless there are any more questions, I would end the webinar here so that we are precise on time. What do you think, Christian? Oh, we have some slides left.
Just closing slides, just some final links. If you find the Knime verified components, go on this link. You can have some additional information if you know French. We did some articles about that on our website to explain them better and how to use them. And you can find our space also in the Knime Hub. And if you want to know more about MIRR, you can visit our social networks or our hub in Knime. If we develop something more, it will be there. And that's it from my side.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you
everyone
for
also to have participated and to be interested in this topic.
I think you're going to receive a follow-up email with the recording. If not, you can reach out to the Knime channels, and hope you enjoyed this this session. Thank you all. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Paolo.